The final two drop dates for Yeezys are upon us, with pairs like the Yeezy 350 Turtle Dove, Yeezy 700 Waverunner, and many more still about to drop. Today, we'll discuss which of these pairs are the best to hold, and I'll give each of them a rating out of 10 based on their potential ROI and risk. With this being the end of all Adidas Yeezy releases, it's safe to say that a lot of these are going to appreciate in value, but not all of them. Some of which you might actually want to take your profit on now, and there's multiple profitable pairs that are still restocking almost every single day, so make sure you're paying attention to your Adidas app monitors. Just the other day, we saw tons of profitable boots restock, leading to massive cookouts and a surprise Yeezy Onyx that tons of people were able to easily cop from. I would not be surprised if we saw restocks of pairs like the Yeezy Turtle Doves, with the initial drop being a complete shit show and potentially seeing the app crash. If you need access to the fastest Adidas app monitor, you could join Endurance with the link in the description, and on that same link, you can get completely free guides, alerts, and methods to get free food like Chick-fil-A, so check it out. Starting with tomorrow's drop on June 11th, we have the Yeezy Foam Runner Sand. I rated most Yeezy Foam Runners pretty high overall because of their low starting value, making it easy to achieve good ROIs on them. This pair is a little bit different though. Even though we should expect prices to drop tomorrow as more go into circulation, they're still much higher in value than the average foam runner. But historically, we've still seen a substantial recovery in their value following their last restock from the 160 range to mid 200s. So despite these having a higher starting value, I'd actually rate these even higher than other foam runners at 6.5 out of 10. Definitely one of the better foam runner colorways to hold. It seems this colorway simply has more demand than the others we've seen. Next up, we have a unique situation with the Yeezy NSLTD Boot Khaki. This is very similar to the Knit Runner Sulfur we discussed because sale volume on them is very low. So it's less about holding these for a set period and instead just listing these very high and being patient for one of those high sales. If you have a pair of these and they're not selling, don't panic. Just keep them listed and eventually someone will take your high price. For this reason, just like the Sulfur boots, I won't give these a rating, but I'd encourage you to be very patient when selling these to maximize your profit. There's going to be the most amount of sellers right after the drop, of course, so just be patient. You could list them right away, but don't expect them to sell as fast as other pairs, especially if you're listing them very high. Next, we have the iconic Yeezy 350 Turtle Dove, the first ever Yeezy 350. This is an iconic part of sneaker history and still a fan favorite amongst many. Interestingly, they actually depreciated following their initial massive re-release in 2022, which had tons of stock. However, with them now being at a low point and considering I'm not expecting nearly the same amount of stock to enter in circulation, I really do only think it's up from here. At the very least, I think these will eventually get back to their range in 2022, which is the mid 400 range. If that's the case, that can already be a solid 30% ROI, but I think these really have potential in the long term after a year because again, this is an important part of sneaker history, being the first ever Adidas 350. I think these could continue to increase even further than that over the years. Overall, I'd rate these very high at 7 out of 10. Moving on to June 13th releases, we have the Yeezy 450 Slide. These have also depreciated in value since their last release last year from the mid 100s to low 100s now, and I think from this low starting point, it is only up from here, especially because this is the only 450 Slide colorway. It doesn't take much for these to see a decent ROI, and while demand isn't as high as regular slides, being the only colorway of this model definitely helps a ton. So at this low value currently, I'd actually rate them higher than most slides, aside from a few colorways like the Pure and Bone at 6.5 out of 10. Next, we have the Yeezy Foam Runner Desert Sand dropping. This is another colorway that's higher in value than most, but assuming they do drop to their value of 130 to 140, like following their last release, while I wouldn't expect them to get back to their old prices, that's not necessary at all to see a solid return on these. And even if they don't drop that low in value by the time you get your pairs, I'd still rate these above average like most foam runners, but assuming they do drop further in value, leaving more room for an ROI, I'd rate these above most foam runners at 6.5 out of 10. And finally, the fan favorite Yeezy 700 Waverunner is also dropping again. Despite tons of stock of these always dropping with multiple re-releases, these always seem to recover. As of now, they're still quite high in value though, and unless these drop really low in value, there's really not going to be much room for a good ROI on these. While they do appreciate, with the value being so high, I don't think these are going to be one of the best pairs to hold. If they do drop to 350 hypothetically, and eventually they were to increase to back to 450, which I think is possible, we can see close to a 30% ROI, but I believe this is thinking pretty optimistically, especially because I don't know if they're going to drop that low to 350 following the drop. So overall, I'd rate these a 5 out of 10 hold, just average, average, not the best pair, and not the worst pair to hold. But even when these pairs are done dropping, I don't think this is going to be the end. I think we'll see some restocks of many of these, not to the scale of a regular release of course, but just occasional restocks like we've been seeing on these boots. Again, if you need access to the fastest Adidas app and website monitor, and monitors for any website, you could join Endurance with the link in the description, and on that same link, again, you get completely free guides, free alerts, and methods to get free food like Chick-fil-A, so check it out. And Endurance is so much more than sneaker reselling, so if you're looking for a profitable side hustle to broaden your horizons as an entrepreneur, definitely check it out. Other than that though, have a great rest of your day and good luck on these drops.